Good afternoon. Oh, okay, let me back off this thing a little bit. Yeah, good afternoon. My name is Arthur Lewis, and I'd like to welcome everyone to the committee, the advisory board committee on this bond issue that we hopefully will do great things for the city of Beaumont. First, I would like to ask each person that has been selected to let us know who, I guess, asked you to be on this program, to tell us a little bit about yourself, about a minute to a minute and a half. I know Georgine is long-winded, so we're going to keep it to 1 minute, minute and a half. Okay? Let's start to my left, and we'll work our way around. Go right there.
Good evening. Thank you all for having me. You said who appointed us?
Yes.
All right, so Council Member Mike Getz appointed me for his ward. My name is Carl Lambeth. I'm owner of Safe Move Southeast Texas. I was born in Port Arthur and raised here in Beaumont, went through BISD, graduated LIT with process operations, and I'm a proud parent here, and I'm just ready to see what we can get doing to help my kids succeed later on in life.
Hello, good evening. I was appointed by Mike Getz. My name is Isaiah Tyson, lifelong Beaumont resident, graduate of Westbrook High School, class of 2014. I have a nerd job. I trade stocks and Bitcoin, and I'm just here to see what I can do for the city.
I've got questions for you after the meeting,
Corey Crenshaw. I was appointed by Taylor Neild, and I am a local attorney here, previously served as Jefferson County's district attorney and a judge and a federal prosecutor, and I am also currently running to replace Taylor Neild to be the Ward 1 City Councilman. And I am honored to be here and serve on such a great committee with so many outstanding people that I know and friends, and thank you all for being here.
My name is David Moore. I was appointed by Audwin Samuel. Actually served on this council about 20 years, and right now, people ask me, what do? I just say, I do what I'm told. Glad to be here. Look forward to what the challenges may be in making some decisions, but I'd like to say Beaumont home and grown.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Jobe. I'm also an attorney here in town. I was appointed by Mayor West. I'm raising 3 kids here. I am in-house counsel for ExxonMobil for about a decade now. Prior to that, for about a decade, I was with Provost Humphrey. So thrilled to be here with you all, honored, hopeful that we can do good things for our city.
My name is Katie Selly, and I was appointed by Mayor Roy West. I'm from Oklahoma. I'm not from here, but I've been in Beaumont for 23 years. I got here as fast as I could. And I work in the oil and gas industry with Jennifer, and I work for ISTC as the Chief Communications and Development Officer. I'm also the Executive Director of Golden Triangle Business Roundtable and a founder and Executive Director of Southeast Texas Women in Industry. And I also am a small business owner. My husband and I recently acquired his parents' family's business flagship mailroom and emporium. So I'm very happy here in Beaumont. A lot of people ask me, why did you come here from, you weren't even from here. I'm like, I chose Beaumont. This is an amazing place to raise my family. I'm so proud to be here and proud to raise my daughter here, and looking forward to what we do here on this committee.
My name is Mike Williams. I was appointed by Taylor Neild. I live here in Beaumont with my wife and 2 children. I am the owner of Longhorn Liquor, a retail and wholesale liquor chain that primarily serves Southeast Texas but stretches into the greater Houston area. And yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Dr. Rubin?
Yes, you ready?
Yes.
Good evening. I am Dr. Rhonda Rubin, and I am originally from Mobile, Alabama, but I've been here in Beaumont, Texas for about 40 years. I have the best hobby and best job in America, and I'm a basketball referee. and I take very much pride in that for 30 years. But I am a teacher and a nurse, and I just received my doctorate in healthcare administration from University of Virginia, and my commencement exercise is first weekend in May. So I am very excited about that. Like I said, I am a teacher and a nurse, and I'm on the advisory board for the Salvation Army. And I go there at least twice a week and serve food for the homeless. And I bring my organizational groups with me. So since I'm a part of this group, so don't be surprised I asked you to come and serve some food at Salvation Army. And I was appointed by Mr. Kenneth Williams. Thank you for the opportunity to serve.
Good afternoon or good evening, everyone. My name is Sean Villery Samuel. I am from Beaumont, born and raised, product of BISD. Went off for a while for undergrad, grad school, and for law school, and then I came on back home. I was supposed to be passing through, and 16 years later, I'm still here, but I'm better for it. I am a lawyer with Provost Humphrey doing personal injury law. I know many of you here, good seeing you. Many of you I don't know, and I look forward to meeting you as well. But in my time here, I've been on CASA board before, Habitat for Humanity, a couple of different organizations. And so this is a really special opportunity to hopefully guide our city in a direction that I believe everyone can benefit from. Thank you.
That's it. Mike.
I'm Sam Parigi, and I moved here in 1950, and been here all my life. My family's been here all our life, and I was appointed by Odwin Samuel, and graduated from Texas A&M University, and I have a property management real estate development company.
I get two microphones. Thank you. My name is Andres Chica. You can call me Andy, or anything you want, really. Don't call me late for dinner. Thanks a lot, Kenneth. I was appointed by Kenneth, or asked to be on the committee. All he told me was there's going to be free food. So I showed up. I said, what are we doing, Kenneth? Andy, just show up, okay? But I work at Chica & Associates. I've been there for 30 years, almost 30 years. We've done quite a bit of work for the city of Beaumont. And we've done some work for Mr. Parigi. Thank God he let us do some work for him, but both from public and private sectors. So I'm glad to be here. I'm honored to be here, Kenneth. Thank you for asking me to be on this committee, and I look forward to hearing from GAP Strategy to see what we got. Thank y'all.
Hello, everybody. Johnny Beatty. Chris Durio had appointed me. I've lived here all of my life. I retired from the city after 31 years of service in community development. I worked for David and Chris Boone, and those were some glorious times. I'm also a journalist, a retired journalist, 36 years in the military. So I've had an awesome career. I'm retired now, and I just look forward to playing golf. But I do enjoy just being around individuals that could help perhaps move our city forward. Thank you.
I'm gonna get you back. I'm Georgine Guillory, Commissioner for the Port of Beaumont, 21 years. And I've served on everybody's board, including the city, at least 4. And I'm so grateful that my dear friend Chris Durio asked me to come today and be on that bond committee. Arthur, remember, I spanked you before.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, right. How could I forget? And my name is, again, Arthur Lewis, and I was chosen by, or appointed by the mayor of Beaumont to be the chairman, and by A.J. Turner to be on this committee. And the reason that I'm on this committee, Kenneth, is because I love Beaumont, Texas, man. I'm 66 years old, and I've been here all 66 years other than 4 years going to college. And Beaumont can be one of the greatest cities in Beaumont. I'm Beaumont proud in everywhere I go. So, again, I appreciate you guys being here. I really do, because you feel the same way as I do. You love Beaumont. Something about Beaumont you love. Mr. Williams, could you welcome this committee at this time, please?
Yeah, I'll be glad to. Good evening. I'm Kenneth Williams, City Manager, City of Beaumont. Been city manager here now approximately 2.5 years. I've been a city manager in different cities for over 20 years in the position of city manager or assistant city manager. I'm past president of the Texas City Managers Association, where I was elected by my peers around the state of Texas and as president in 2019. I'm also a past member of the International City Managers Association, which is a worldwide organization comprised of 35 countries and 21 seats, and I was fortunate enough to have one of those seats as city managers on a 21-member board from around the world. I'm here to welcome you today and what you're doing. It's quite the sacrifice for what you're doing, but it's certainly a worthwhile project that you're participating in. We have another event this evening, and many of our council members are there and the mayor's there, so they couldn't be here, but I'm here to welcome you. So thank you for participating, and we look forward to working with you. Do you want me to get into the charge?
Mr. Williams,
not yet. Okay.
One other thing, could you introduce the people from the city of Beaumont that will be working with us?
If you don't mind, I'll let them introduce themselves.
That's great.
Okay,
That's great.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Chris Boone. I'm Assistant City Manager, City of Mobile. I'm looking at Dr. Rubin because I also came from Mobile. But my wife and my family and I have been here almost 23 years. 19 of those years I've worked with the city of Beaumont, and I've had the good fortune to have 2.5 years with assistant city manager, and the balance of those as director of planning and community development, where I've had the good fortune of working with a lot of good folks to plan, design, and develop buildings like we're in tonight, and the lake around us and the parks around us. So, working with Johnny Beatty. Anyway, a lot of good experience, a lot of good times with the city of Beaumont. So I'm looking forward to working with the committee.
Good evening. My name is June Ellis. I've been with the city of Beaumont for 2 years and 4 months. I've worked for 6 other cities in my 28-plus years working in city government. I've worked for the city of Sugar Land, Texas, Pearland, Texas, Buda, Texas, Missouri City, Texas, Haskell, Texas. Worked for the city of Detroit, Michigan, the largest city of all the cities that I worked for. So I have a significant amount of municipal experience. I've worked for a couple of cities that went through this same exact process that you guys are going through right now and that you will be going through over the next 6-7 months. It's something that's going to be great for the city. Normally it is if this group here come up with projects that you feel will help move the city forward. Other places I've worked, those bond initiatives, actually all of them passed at the city of Pearland, city of Buda. So this is going to be exciting, and we thank you for being part of this bond advisory committee for the city of Beaumont.
Thank you. Mr. Barton, I talked with him last week, and he Googled me, Johnny. I forgot about, he was telling me things about me that I said, okay, well, how do you know that? The internet. Yeah, the internet. And guess what? I Googled you back and found out some things about you and Karen and you guys' track record. You have an amazing track record of getting these things done, just like June just talked about. And we really appreciate what you're going to bring, the positivity and the expertise here to Beaumont so we can get this thing passed and get it moving. Thank you so much. Back at you, Jeff.
Well, thank you very much. And Mr. Williams, if you want to start the charge, then if you want to give a charge, then I'll jump right in. Mr. Chairman, I'm really looking forward to working. Do we want to introduce that?
Yes.
Okay, we're passing out a charge. Basically, this will be your mission and why you're here. I put it in writing. It's because I know questions come up. People will ask you questions. What are you doing? Why are you here? So that gives you a clear idea of why we're here. But before we do that, we have staff to support us too. Many people, I guess I don't know where to start, but if you please stand, staff, as a resource for this activity. There's 1, 2, 3, about 12. So I guess Bridget Evick is finance, Duncan Brown, finance, Tracy Kennick, public information, Christina Loki, economic development, Miles Haynes, catch-all guy, no. Kenny, our facilities manager, Jimmy Neal, parks director, Molly Villarreal, city engineer, public works director, sorry, Demi Ingham, planning, and Kenneth Reggett, parks. Thank you. What you have here is based on a charge, and I don't want to insult you by reading it, but I am going to. I apologize, but because I want to make sure it's clear on why we're here and why we're here for this process. And so just give me a couple of minutes, because I think Jeff gave me 5, so I'm going to get it done. The bond committee is charged with the responsibility of formulating recommendations for a bond initiative to fund critical, and if I go too far over what you're doing, Jeff, let me know. Fund critical infrastructure projects that will enhance the quality of life, economic vitality, and sustainability of Beaumont. The committee shall engage in a transparent, inclusive, and data-driven process to identify, prioritize, and propose projects that align with the city's strategic goals and community needs. And there are 4 responsibilities associated with that as I see it, or we see it as a city. Project identification and prioritization. Evaluate the city's current infrastructure needs, including but not limited to transportation, public facilities, drainage, and parks. Solicit input from city departments, residents, and stakeholders to identify potential projects for inclusion in the bond package, and assess the urgency, feasibility, and long-term impact of projects to prioritize funding recommendations. 2, financial planning and feasibility. Collaborate with city financial officers to determine the city's funding capacity and fiscal constraints, and analyze the financial implications of proposed projects, including cost, projected revenues, and long-term debt service impacts. 3, community engagement. Conduct public meetings, workshops, surveys to ensure community involvement in the development of the bond initiative, and provide transparent communication regarding the purpose, benefits, and costs of the proposed projects. And 4, recommendation development. Compile and present a comprehensive report detailing the proposed bond initiative, including prioritized projects, cost estimates, and expected outcomes, and submit final recommendations to the City Council for consideration and approval. And we have guiding principles. I'll let you look at those, read those, but they're transparency, equity, where you look at projects throughout the city, sustainability, prioritize these to contribute to long-term resilience and sustainability of the city. You'll hear more about the timeline from Mr. Barton and progress. And of course, the support, I mentioned city staff is here to support you with technical assistance, data analysis, and administrative support to committees. And lastly, I'd just like to say that a city manager is just here to provide resources and information required of this committee and the city council and decision-making process. The city manager is not here advocating for any project or bond initiative as it is. This is your job and this is the city council's job. But it is my job and my staff's job to give you the information you need to make decisions. Thank you.
Well, again, you heard my name is Jeff Barton. I'm your project manager. You're going to have to forgive me. I kind of like to walk and get up close to people as we're talking and get to know you. You know, I hope by the end of this, we'll have built some trust with one another. You'll probably be sick of seeing us. But tonight's meeting, we're going to take the next, hour or hour and a half, depending on how many questions you've got, and walk through the basics, kind of what we'll be covering in the coming weeks, what you can expect, and a little bit about the basics of bonds. First, I want to make sure, I usually don't have any trouble with this because I've got kind of a loud voice, but everybody can hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right, great. Here's our agenda tonight to walk through a little about bonds and process, tools and trends, talk about a community survey, And really, it all boils down to this. We want to help you get a common understanding, one that we all share, of what it means to go out for a bond package, what we're talking about. You heard the city manager alluding to it. We want to set some ground rules for the process and hope we can all agree on how we're going to move forward. And when we get to the decision-making place, how we make those decisions. Again, we want you to have a sense of the survey and especially how you can help share it out to your alliances, your friends, and family out in the community. And then we've got to set some dates for the next meeting. There's a lot of us, a lot of schedules to coordinate. Thank you all. Many of you filled out some early polling about potential dates. There wasn't a clear consensus, so we want to talk about some of that at the end of the meeting. A little bit, you all introduced yourselves, and the chairman was kind enough to say he must not have found the bad things about us. No, it's very kind of you, Mr. Chair, and let me tell you a little bit more. As you can see, these are places that we've worked in the state, so we kind of work all around the state of Texas. We draw our mission from our name, or maybe our name comes from our mission, GAP Strategies. It often gets written as capital GAP, like the clothing store, but we don't sell clothes. What we do is try and help communities close gaps. We try and bring people together. We try and fill in gaps of expertise, but we especially like to bring communities together around common policies, common bits of infrastructure projects to help make communities better. A lot of us have worked at both the federal and national level, but what we really like is working at the local level because that's where decisions really get made. So again, I'm a member of the American Institute of Certified Planners. I hate to admit it, but I've been around policy stuff now for more than 40 years in a variety of roles. And have worked on a number of bond packages across the state of Texas. We also do long-range community plans for cities and for counties, infrastructure plans, park plans for cities and counties, that sort of thing. But we particularly enjoy doing these sorts of bond packages that really bring a lot of those disparate issues together to talk about the future. I founded the firm after being in local government myself for some years with Kara Buffington, who you'll be hearing and seeing a lot of. She is a partner in the firm and will be especially working on public outreach and community engagement. We have some other people with us here tonight who you'll also see a lot of. There's a crew, if we need them, to call on for some special expertise, but primarily the people who are going to be working on in this project are right over here. Andres Gonzalez is a community engagement specialist who's worked on 4 or 5 bond projects, as well as a lot of other community facilitation engagement projects. And Joey Ochoa is a senior urban planner with us and has done a lot of work centered around planning for communities, as well as some pretty complex finance issues. So that's kind of the team. Again, we actually, Mr. Williams, we even have a former city manager who works with us from time to time, but I think this is the group that you'll be seeing primarily. So I want to start just, again, this idea of getting us all on common ground about bonds. I mean, I was really impressed listening to you guys, quite a distinguished group here. Love to see that, people with broad expertise, deep ties in the community. You're going to educate us. We're going to lean on you to help point us in the right direction, to kick us in the shins when we get things wrong. I know that some of you have been around this sort of thing, but still, let's talk a little bit about bonds. And I want to start with the year 1983. As you see, some of you are old enough to remember when Sally Ride went into space. The internet, that's the year that it was officially invented, people say. Michael Jackson debuted the moonwalk. Our current vice president had not even been born. At the city council that year, you passed your current ward system, went through the city council after being, incorporated in 47, and you guessed it, that was the last bond election for Beaumont. So,
I remember.
so it's been a while. Well, there you go. Well, then
Dave was around.
it's good to have some institutional memory here, but it was a day or two ago. A moment has passed since you've done this, so most of your staff has not been through this with Beaumont, at least. Most of the residents of Beaumont aren't as old as I am, so they haven't been through this maybe themselves. It was a $16 million drainage bond that passed pretty handily if you go back and look at the election results. When we talk about bonds, they're really just a financial tool, right? One of you's, I don't know about, maybe in the future it can be through Bitcoin. You'll have to help us design that. Currently, it confused a lot of people when we talk about bonds, but it's really just a financial instrument, right? It's going to be sold to bond traders, people who buy and sell bonds just as an investment. So it'll get sold in New York. People will agree on an interest rate. There's a little volatility in interest rates right now because a lot of things are changing in the world about trade and tariffs. But that's really what it is. It's a way for cities to issue long-term, low-interest debt to get some things done now instead of waiting for the future or trying to pay it out bit by bit in the budget. Investors like them, obviously, because cities are pretty reliable. That's a safe bet generally. They're tax deductible. And then it's repaid over a long period of time, usually 20 years or more. I think your last bond may have been 25 years. It spreads the cost, right? It spreads it out. Most of us don't buy a house in cash. So when you're talking about big capital improvements, a bond is, again, a way to get some of those improvements built now instead of, waiting, putting a little bit aside for 20 years and then paying for it in cash. It also shares the cost with those of us who are around today and new people, new businesses moving into the region. That's one thing that cities find attractive. And instead of current taxpayers having to bear the full cost, additional businesses, additional people that come into the community will share that cost over time. And so it eases the impact on the annual M&O or maintenance and operations budget. As I said, it's a little bit like buying a home. And then bonds also typically, I wouldn't even say typically, some bonds require voter approval. And the ones that we're talking about here do require voter approval. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. There are several types of bonds out there and financial instruments that local governments use. Three of the really common ones: revenue bonds, COs, or certificates of obligation, and general obligation bonds, okay? So a revenue bond is just a bond based on a revenue stream. So a great example would be one of your utility departments. If you're an electric company or an electric department for a city and you sell electricity, you can go to the loan markets, right, and say, well, I've got a certain amount of money coming in. I want to make some improvements. Loan me some money based on this income stream, right? I have this many clients. Maybe I'm going to have to raise rates by $5 or something, but I've got money that's going to be coming in. Revenue bonds. Then there's certificates of obligation. And you have used certificates of obligation some here in Beaumont. So you haven't had a general obligation bond since 1983. But you have used certificates of obligation some. They're pretty common all over the state. Counties, cities use them all the time. But they're typically for a little bit smaller projects or not for major capital improvements, or at least not for kind of capital improvements that might be that you really want to bring to the voters and have the community decide whether you go forward, maybe some street projects or that sort of thing that you might use. They're also used for emergency projects. If a hurricane hits and you've got to do some rebuilding, then you can use a CO In the 1970s, the legislature authorized cities and counties to go out and issue COs for certain kinds of situations. But they also put some limits on COs. So it's excuse me, they're kind of a grab bag. And you can't issue COs, for example, to replace a general bond election. If you go out for a general bond and it fails, you can't just go issue a CO for the exact same thing. That happened in about 2015. Yeah, thank you. It looks like they're putting my water up here. Appreciate that. And then finally, there's general obligation bonds. That's the kind we're going to talk about tonight. Each type of bond has its own rules and limitations. But what we're really talking about, what the City Council and Mr. Williams and the Mayor have asked all of y'all to be here and think about, is this idea of GOs, it's how we shorthand them sometimes, or general obligation bonds. So let's talk a little bit more about that. They're paid for by property taxes, okay? Not sales tax, not grants, but by property taxes based on rates set by the city. You cannot issue GO bonds, general obligation bonds, without a vote of the people, without approval of a majority of the voters on a regular election date. And they can only be used for the projects that are specified in the election. So you can't go out and tell the public, we're going to build, we're going to build a bridge and then go build a playground with it. It's against the law. You can separate out multiple propositions. It used to be in the old days, often there would be one big proposition and everybody, you just kind of take it or leave it. But generally speaking now, there's likely to be a number of propositions. So in this, we'll be talking about whether you want to see a proposition on parks or on roads or on facilities downtown, that sort of thing, there will be several different standalone propositions. We don't need to worry too much about that. Next meeting, we're going to have a bond attorney here and an expert to talk in some more detail about that, about how propositions might be divided up. And I said next time, so in a moment I'm going to get to the schedule so that y'all will get a real clear idea of how we hope to lay this out, right, together. But let's start with process. Your job, you heard Mr. Williams, Mr. Williams gave you a charge that I think is incredibly helpful. If you all have this charge, you can refer back to. But I'm gonna kind of break it down into the simplest components from my perspective. And I should have clarified, I talked about our experience, but what the City Council really hired us to do is to come in and give some advice, because we've been through a lot of bond elections about how to move forward, but also especially to facilitate your work. And what that means is it's really our job to work with staff to get you the information needed and to facilitate these meetings. This first one, I'm going to be talking at you a lot, right, just to get us up to speed. But as we move through the process, I'm going to be getting you to talk at me so that we really begin to see what's important in the community and about where you want to go. We don't expect you to start from ground zero. There's been a lot of work done about projects that are out there that might be worth your consideration. And we're going to be bringing those to you in kind of bite-sized chunks. And then you're going to prioritize for those for us and talk to us about what you want to see. We're also going to be reaching out together to the community, to the broader community, and see, what their ideas are about this and what their priorities are. We're going to be giving you that information back to help round out your own sense of what's critical for the community. So we're going to assess this. We're going to listen. Then we're going to be asking you to prioritize, and we'll give you some tools to do that. And at the end of the day, our job together then is to report back to the City Council. And that recommendation can be, let's go forward with a bond, and here are the propositions and the amounts. Again, we're not going to expect you to do that in a vacuum. As we get to the later meetings and we talk about what amount might be appropriate, we're going to be working with you. Okay, this amount would mean this much in taxes, which would mean this much on a monthly bill for the average homeowner. So we're not going to just say, hey, come up with an amount, right? We're really going to work through this together. But you can tell the City Council, yes, we want to go forward. Here's roughly the amount and the projects we want to get done. Or you can say, no, we've really thought about this, and boy, this isn't the right time to go out for a bond. Just as a reminder, no matter what we come up with, no matter what you'll decide, the final decision is, of course, the City Council's. They're the ones that has to call the election. They're the one that has to go out to the people, and they're the ones that have to set the tax rate. But again, you didn't get set any kind of limit of size or number of projects or specific projects that have to move forward. We have, over time, developed a strategy that, so far at least, has worked pretty well, and I hope it continues to. It's based on some research done by Dr. William Ury, who Kara studied directly under at the Harvard School of Negotiation, thinking about how you bring people together. And then we've modified it considerably in something we call community-based consent. Boy, I never need a mic, but I'm glad I've got one tonight. So community-based consent is our effort, really, to bring together what you see up there on the screen, these ideas of your own interests, what may even be opposing or at least different interests, what's possible, what you want, but also what you can live with. Because after all, we're really a community, and we are not likely to all agree on the number one priority. There may be some things in a final bond package, perhaps, that you wouldn't put in the bond package if you were king of the world and it was your bond package. But we're not here to design 17 individual bond packages. We're here, after all, to come together as the community of Beaumont, recognizing that we're a diverse community and that there are different needs in different neighborhoods, and what is it that we can live with and feel good about recommending, even if it might not be perfect in your eyes. So one of the ways we like to think about that is to talk about the difference between positions and interests. So this is supposed to be an iceberg analogy. And above the waterline, right, are your positions. This is what you present to the world. This is what may even feel important to you. This is what you're talking about. But submerged below, we all carry deeper, sometimes private interests, things that really affect us. Fears, desires, old ideas, or prejudices about some guy that we got in a fight with on the soccer field for our kids, whatever it is. And one way I like to, you might think about it is, your position might be that the Houston Astros need to have more home run hitters, right? They got to have more home run hitters. That's my position. It's a great position on a bar stool. But your real interest is really just that the Astros win more games, right? And truthfully, you may think they need to hit more home runs, but you don't really care at the end of the day if you can meet your deeper interest, that they win more games. So that's, as we get into discussion, I think we're going to have a lot of time where we're all working completely in common, just finding out facts, finding out data, thinking about big projects, and that's all going to be fun. And then we're going to have to get to a place where we prioritize and we make some hard decisions. And we may disagree. It may get a little chaotic. That's okay. That's part of the process. Like, don't let that scare you. I'll just tell you, it will get chaotic. We're going to disagree. We're going to talk over each other. Our job is to shape that into some kind of useful conversation based on community-based consent and based on really common interests that we develop over the course of the next few months. So, we're going to have a lot of listening to all sides, even when we disagree. We are going to strive on decision-making for consensus when possible. And I'll tell you, we've worked on some pretty divisive issues. Bond packages where people disagreed, but also other community issues that were really, really divisive in the community. And it's surprising if you know, as we treat one another with respect, what kind of consensus we can find. And I think every single one of us here knows that in the country at large right now, we're not doing the best job of listening to each other. Whatever side you're on, we don't do a great job of finding consensus all of the time right now. But in this room, this is your community, you know? So the idea, I heard almost every one of you talked about how much you love Beaumont and you want to make it better for your kids. That's what we do in this room, is disagree, but listen to each other, find some way to build consensus if we can. When we can't, it'll be in what we call like informed consent. Like, all right, I don't love that idea, but I consent to it. I can stand it, right? Yeah, if I get what I want to, or I get these other things, these other benefits, I understand what you're saying. I understand the reasons for it. Informed consent. At least I've gotten a chance to say my piece. And then we move to consensus. And if we can't move to consensus, we vote. There's nothing wrong with that. And then it's a democracy. That's what it's built on. So if we can't get to consensus, then we'll vote. And we'll vote sometimes by show of hands. And we also have some fancy little electronic gadgetry that we will use from time to time. Does everybody here have a cell phone? Everybody on the committee have a cell phone that is a smartphone? Yeah? So we'll probably break that out as we get deeper into the meetings. For some of you who are quieter, it gives you a chance to really express yourself without having to, talk. So we want people to talk, but we'll find some ways to kind of tease out if any of you are a little bit quieter, don't feel that you want your name attached to something right off the bat. We'll do that with this little electronic gadget. It's really great because we'll take some early votes and say, okay, is this Tuesday or is this Wednesday? And if the whole room says, yeah, it's really Tuesday, then that may help just move the conversation along. Any questions about that? And does that sound reasonable, or at least something you can all live with?
It sounds very reasonable. Yeah.
All right, great. Yes, sir.
You had mentioned that this will require voter approval, and the law is changing from simple majority to a supermajority. Is it y'all's intent that if whatever we recommend in a November 2025 election will be subject to just a majority voter approval, or will it require a supermajority?
I follow that bill, and to be honest, I don't know what the final outcome is going to be in the legislature. So I know that the city's bond council is following that very closely. I've talked to him about that. He's going to be here to talk about that next meeting, but Mr. Williams.
Yeah, I can talk about that. And that's not a law yet. It's being proposed this session. We'll see if it passes or not. And if it does pass, more than likely it'll be put on a ballot for the citizens of Texas to vote on in November. And if that happens, that will not be in place before we have this election, if we have ours in November. So our election will be before that, will not have to comply with that supermajority.
Okay, good.
I have a question. The timeline. When are you, the city's expecting us to come up with that?
Great question, because it leads directly to my next slide. We are going to report way down here in July. And here's why. To be on the November ballot, You have to print those ballots. You have to call approximately 90 days. There's some mitigating language in there, but you've basically got to call, the city has to call this election by mid-March, by mid-August. So the city council has to call the election, which just means a formal resolution where they say, yes, we're going to put this on the ballot. There's a whole lot of legal language that goes with it. That has to happen by mid-March, by mid-August. I don't know why I keep saying March. That has to happen by mid-August. They need a little time to get that together, and they need a little time to review your work. So our goal right now is to report in mid-July. We've got a little room to spare there if we have to have it, right? But we want to give the council as much time as they can get. So our goal is mid-July. And let's go back to where we are here. So the city put out an RFP. That's just a request for proposals. So they put out an RFP that we answered. Staff looked at our proposal, recommended us to the city council. The city council's brought us on, and we've been working for a few weeks now with your staff to begin getting up to speed. We still got a ways to go, but we're getting there. And I'll say that I haven't spent much time in Beaumont, but a couple of people on our staff have, including Kara. She was head over heels a long time ago for a guy who lived in Beaumont, so she's spent a lot of time here.
Wow.
So tonight's our first meeting, and we're going to talk about just kind of, we're going to talk about introductions. We're going to do all the things we described. And we're also going to introduce you to this community survey. So there is a community survey that we have just put in the field. It's designed to get you some information. Has anybody seen it yet? I've done it. Yeah. A few of you have. We're going to be talking a lot more about that a little bit later tonight and tell you how you can share it with your family and friends. And that survey will give you some additional information. Kind of what is people's, what we like to call pain threshold, how much taxes would they like to pay to get cool projects done? What are those kinds of projects they want to see worked on, that sort of thing. So that survey will be up and will close out before our next meeting so that at that meeting we can give you the results of the survey. Then at that second meeting of the advisory committee, and we don't have an exact date yet. We're going to be working with you all to come to a date that works best for the mostest. But we will be talking a little bit more detail about these kinds of things that you mentioned. Exactly what are the legal requirements. You don't need to worry too much about that, but we want you to have some familiarity. We hope that the city's financial advisor, outside financial consultant, that works specifically on things like bonds will be here. If he can't be, we'll represent him. We're pretty familiar. We've already talked to him in a lot of detail. And he's going to talk to you about things like how much a penny a tax generates, how much certain kinds of $5 a month might get you. I'll allude to it later. You'll see a few slides. Don't worry about trying to absorb them too much tonight, because next meeting we're really going to focus in on that. So we'll talk about the survey, we'll talk about finances, we'll talk about some of these bond propositions and how they have to be structured, and then we'll give you a preview of we'll also talk a little bit about the world, the universe of projects that is out there, because the city's already done a lot of work pricing out different projects, talking to department heads and citizens about projects that people might want to see. So next meeting, we'll introduce you to that universe of projects. Then, when we move into meetings 3, 4, and 5, that'll be in late May through June. Those are really going to be deep dives. So we'll take one meeting where we go in depth on, let's say, parks. We'll take a meeting where we go in depth on, facilities and downtown improvements. A meeting where we'll go in depth about sidewalks. We're really still working out which deep dive will be what, because we're going to talk about that universe next meeting, and we'll talk a little bit about how those deep dives will be most useful to you. But you'll get 2 to 4 meetings on deep dives. They go really simple, and we just have lots of agreements. Maybe it's only 2, but we're anticipating that it'll be 3. If it needs to be 4, we'll make it 4. So that brings us, we'll go through these deep dives at this meeting sometime in early to mid-June. Then we'll kind of wrap up that deep dive. We'll be prioritizing those deep dive issues as we go at the end of that meeting. If we learn about parks, we'll kind of say, all right, we've now talked about parks the whole evening. How would you prioritize these parks? And we'll have some tools to help us get through that. At that last meeting, we'll make sure that we're all on the same page about what are just temporary priorities, right? I shouldn't say temporary, but initial priorities, okay? And then we're going to take that to an open house. You guys are welcome to come. You don't need to do anything. It's our job to put it on for you. We'd love to have you be there. We'll talk about that when the time comes, but we'll do it and report back to you. It will be a live in-person open house where we will talk to folks about, okay, the committee's been working. Here's all this stuff they've been learning. Here's the stuff we've been presented. And here are the preliminary priorities that the Beaumont Bond Advisory Committee has come up with. What do you think? Love it? Hate it? Give us comments. It'll be live, but it will also be virtual. So you can sit on your couch in your pajamas and kind of get the same experience, make comments, see it, read it. Then we'll come back after that, after the 4th of July is what we anticipate now. And we'll say to you, here were your initial priorities. Here's what we heard at the open house. We plan to give 1 to 2 updates to the council along the way. We'll probably have an update to the council after the open house and let the council hear that. If the council has any last words of wisdom, like money doesn't matter, it grows on trees, spend as much as you want, then we'll let you know that. And at that meeting, then we'll try and put together really a final set of recommendations for the council. If that takes 2 meetings, it takes 2 meetings. But our goal will be to wrap that up in 1 meeting and then turn it over to city staff and council. Questions about schedule?
I have a question, and it's not with the schedule, and I may be getting ahead of myself. Kenneth, with the amount of monies that, let's say today, we decide to build a building for $3 million in 9 months, how much would that building be with every time you turn around, everything is escalating prices? How do y'all handle that?
Well, when we get those estimates, we'll count for future values. We don't just go with present value of that particular project. When we get those estimates, or they get those estimates, we anticipate what it's going to be in 2-3 years, because most of the major projects you're going to do won't be built for 2 or 3 years.
Correct.
You got to go through acceptance, you got to go through planning, you got to go through design. And so by the time it's built, it's going to be a while. And so you've got to account for those future dollars. And,
so that's how you do that.
Estimating that project.
Yeah, you put a little bit more in the pot for that then, right?
Yeah, you just account for it through your calculations.
All right.
And let me just elaborate on that, and then we'll move to your question. One of the things the city's asked us to do is, this will really be up to staff, but we'll be participating in that, and just based on past histories, as Mr. Williams said, they're looking at future value of dollars. We'll be working with your financial advisor to think about inflation. Also, the cost of issuing bonds, it costs money to issue the bonds and to sell the bonds. All of that will be rolled up in those numbers. It's a little harder than it's been. We just went through several years of inflation, and now inflation is back down low. But we're all watching about tariffs, where the tariffs are going to be or not going to be. So that's lumber prices, steel prices are kind of volatile on some of the construction markets right now. So I think we'll all take our best effort at that and you know, try and make sure that there's enough money to cover those contingencies. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so, I mean, we won't get into the thick of this, I guess, until the next couple of meetings. So I'm just curious on past projects. Is this timeline what you typically follow, or is this crunched to meet that August deadline, or is this just business as usual whenever?
Pretty much business as usual. You know, we've done this in as little as 6 weeks, where people are meeting every week. We've done it with fewer meetings. I think having this many meetings we think is kind of ideal. You know, it's partly your schedules. So, you know, if we had a year, we'd take a year and really make you all experts. But usually you don't really want to give that amount of time. So we'll have our work cut out for us as a team just to keep up with you. But we've got plenty of time to get it done.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
What is your batting average?
Well, I got to ask this to City Council. We, for a bond election, for a bond election that we did a process like this, where we're in from the beginning and help people. We've never had one fail to date.
So out of 100, you had 100 pass?
Yes, out of about 30 propositions, we've had 30 pass. I have been involved in one that was a loss that we weren't the lead consultant on. We were just helping somebody else, and I don't want to blow my own horn, but they didn't take our advice about really just getting out and talking honestly about what all the issues were. They kind of tried to hide the ball a little bit, and it failed. And then we've also worked on some other kinds of municipal elections, like wet-dry elections and that sort of thing, where we've just been consultants, but we don't lead those. We don't do that very much. I've certainly been around some that failed, and I've been a part of local. I was a county commissioner, and I'm an AICB planner. I do urban planning as a living, but I was at one point in my life, I briefly had a lapse into insanity and was a county commissioner for a very fast-growing county. So I saw some cities in that county in the Austin region. I was involved in regional government in the Austin area, and so there were I've certainly seen some fail, but everyone that we've been involved in has passed. So don't make us look bad. Other questions about the schedule? Don't worry too much about this, but I want to give you some general exposure to some of the tools we're going to be using and to some trend lines that helps maybe get you thinking about where we're headed. So we're going to, we had a bunch of good-natured debate in the office of whether it's a better mixer, a funnel metaphor, or it should be like a margarita mixer that you put things in. But at any rate, we're going to take a lot of work that's already been done here in Beaumont. Your staff has a great community investment plan. They're updating that right now. There's a new parks plan that's being updated right now. There's already a lot of work going on about civic and downtown uses and conversation that we're aware of in the community about, partnerships and things like that with hotels. We're going to take all those plans and those ideas that are out there. Most of them have some good numbers attached to them already about potential costs and timelines. And, that goes in the top here of the funnel. As we start talking about, that'll be what we'll talk about more next week. That's the universe of potential projects, right? Or maybe one of you has one that you say, hey, I know about this really cool project we just have to consider. Glad to, especially if you can give us some construction estimates and some real concrete planning, which is, mostly hard to do, but we're open-minded. Then you will be getting some at least ideas from us on how to move forward. We'll be talking to experts like the bonded counsel, the lawyers, the advisors, city staff who live this every day. And then you guys will begin to prioritize that, and finally we'll come out with this recommendation. So, there is a lot of need out there, right? At least there's a big wish list. If you think about everything that could be done on streets or parks or new projects or downtown revitalization or work on your utilities, that's a lot of money. So we're going to begin funneling that down. We're going to think together about, well, what are some things that can be paid for? For instance, we talked about revenue bonds. What are some things that can be paid for by revenue bonds? Really? So it doesn't need to be paid for by property tax. What are some things that can probably be grant funded? What are some things that are already being paid for in the city budget? And then we're going to talk about, well, what are the real priorities also? What do we want to, as a community, what do we really want to pay for? And in the end, that will be a much smaller number that we come back and recommend to the City Council. I mentioned the CIP, or Community Investment Plan, that the city's got. We'll be giving you a lot more information on that next time. You've got a good CIP. It's a step above what a lot of communities start with, that we work with, and it's being updated right now. So we'll have some fresh information about numbers and projects, probably at least some preliminary information on that next meeting, and by the time we get to the third meeting, maybe some more final data on that. As I mentioned, there's a parks plan, some other plans underway. There's work going on about some downtown issues. We'll be collecting all of that and bringing it back to you. Your CIP is an annual exercise that your staff goes through, your city staff goes through, looking at least one universe of wish list projects and what would work. It's pretty detailed. It's got a lot of information in it about what those projects might be, what they might cost, how long it would take to build them. Some of those can be funded elsewhere. I think some of those are already being talked about for your 25-26 budget, and there's not money to pay for them unless we decide to put them in the bond. Just to give you a sense, you've got a general fund, you've got debt service, you've got a water utilities fund. There's a lot of money out there, but there's nothing set aside for these major kind of capital improvement projects, right? So you've got, like all cities, you really run essentially a balanced budget. But if we talk about these kinds of major improvements, it's got to come from somewhere like a GO bond. And then we've been talking with your financial advisor. It's just all cities have a financial advisor. It's somebody who helps them think about long-term capital finance when they do bonds. So we've already been talking with them over at RBC. Dusty Traylor, we've actually worked with him at another city. I don't want to bog us down too much in this, but he gave us some great slides, and he did it in time to get ready for this meeting, so I really appreciate it. They're also kind of a typical, finance guy, accountant slides, very dense. We'll be breaking these down for you some more. But right now, look at this top chart. It says historical AV, or taxable assessed value, TAV. In 2016, it was $7 billion in the city. In 2025, it's about $11 billion. What that means is your assessed value, your property values in the city are growing, which gives you some room to create a bond package, okay? That's, for me, from my eyes, that's kind of what it tells me. A lot of the communities we work in around the state are very fast-growing communities. If you look in some of the Houston suburbs, you look in Austin, like the major issue facing, they're doing bonds every 3 or 4 years because they just have this crazy population to keep up with. Beaumont is not growing in that way, but you are seeing growth, and it's really important to note that you're seeing growth in these property values, and that your historic tax rate is coming down some. You do have some debt based on other COs and other issues over time, but it's in a good place to go out and do a GO bond because some of that debt is being paid off and coming off the table. So we'll talk more about that next time, but I just wanted to give you just a snapshot of some sort of the depth information that we're looking at in the background. And then here's just that historic property rate so that you can see that in Beaumont it has been coming down, and there's an MO rate and a debt rate, and your debt rate has been coming off. So you've got a little room without necessarily well, I'll be careful about that. You've just got a little room, and we're going to talk about that in a second. So I don't want to have Dusty, the FA, have a heart attack, so I just want to give these disclaimers to say that the information he provided us is still preliminary, and he's going to be refining that with us. We mentioned that some CIP improvements really won't happen unless we decide to go forward and put them on a bond package. And also, in looking at those numbers and in talking to your financial advisor, this room that I was talking about, it does look like that just from growing property taxes, right? New people coming into Beaumont or new businesses or the increase in existing values, that you could do a $15 to $16 million in GO bonds without a tax rate increase. Okay? That means, depending, that could mean the average homeowner pays more or less, but at least tax rate could stay the same. Just as an example, if you did a $10 a month tax increase on the median price home, it might support a bond package that looks like of somewhere like $150 million. So I want to be clear for the media that's here and for others, no one's suggesting a $10 tax increase at this point. Way too early for that. We're talking about what could be, what the universe of possibilities are. Just kind of from 0 up to 10, 15, 20. And we'll be talking, as I said, a lot more about that as we go. Your population, you guys know, Beaumont is not growing in the same way that some parts of Texas are. But if you look at the MPO's regional plan, really there is some projected increase, pretty significant increase by the year 2045 as we talk about these bonds really being through, a life of the bonds. These are 10, 20, 30-year projects. So we do anticipate significant growth in most of the counties and in the region. And, what we know, looking at it from the outsiders and in talking to your staff, and you all probably know intuitively, this is really the heart of the region in many ways. So as the region grows, you attract more businesses, you attract more synergy here into the heart of the Golden Triangle, and just get a sense of what some of that is. Also, your building permits have been going up here in Beaumont, total building permits. They spiked. They've leveled off a little bit, but you can see they're still significantly higher than they were a few years ago. So there is some reason to think that there is some additional business activity in particular, and some in talking to your staff as well. It's worth mentioning. I think the planning department tells us that there are a number of pretty large subdivisions out there on the horizon. There's about 700 lots, I believe, that are currently in the pipeline for development in the city, and some other large developments. We know that some of the petrochemical industry is expanding here. So there is some growth. We're looking at a couple of different things then as we think about this bond. What do we need to do to accommodate growth, to accommodate new people, to new businesses, to make Beaumont really attractive as the heart of the region, right? As a great place to live, but also to attract more folks. And also over this 40 years that it's been since the last bond package, what is it that we really want to set our sights on, or that you want to set your sights on in a way to make, remake, refurbish, add on to the city of Beaumont, since this is not something that you do routinely, whether that be facilities or parks or what have you. And I've already covered most of this, but I just want to re-emphasize that what you've seen so far is really a snapshot. We'll be getting into more of this next meeting and in those deep dives that we talked about. We have a number of plans already underway. So I hope this gives you just a broad sense of it, and we'll begin peeling back the layers of the onion next time and then go into those deep dives. Do you want me to cover this? So this is really Kara's bailiwick, but I'm going to pick it up for her tonight. She would usually kick me out of the way here, and she's much more knowledgeable about it than I am, but I'll do my best to kind of give you the highlights of what's going on with this community survey. So it's available online right now. If you haven't seen it, you can get it at beaumontbonds.com. There's QR codes here. There's going to be some paper copies put out at various city facilities. They'll also have QR codes on them. To our friends in the media, we hope you'll help tell your listeners about this. We really want to encourage everybody in the community to do it, to take the survey. We won't get everybody, but we hope we get several hundred. And we will be not only putting this out, but we have some on the project website. And that, again, is beaumontbonds.com. So there's a website now. It mainly has the survey. As this project moves forward, we'll be adding the presentations that we give you. We'll be adding additional data. We'll be adding, schedules, all kinds of stuff so that other citizens in Beaumont can see what's going on. So this is a transparent process. If you've got friends or neighbors who are interested, send them to the website. We'll be adding more and more data as we move forward. Again, if the survey is out there, will be out there in paper. And we will be placing also, for those who like to take it online, that's where we get most of our responses in cities usually these days, not surprising. We're running targeted ads. So we're providing press releases. We have a couple different folks from the city who are going to make sure these get out to neighborhood groups and neighborhood associations. Every single member here is really plugged into the community. That's one of the reasons you're here. So if you've got a Facebook account or you've got a church group or whatever it is, Little League, soccer, just let people know they should go on and take the survey. We'll also be running very targeted ads on all kinds of social media, and we'll be monitoring to see, like, hey, are we getting lots of old people but no young people, and try and make up for that by how we target the ads or by getting out to senior citizen centers, whatever it is. Our goal is to really get a good snapshot of the diversity of Beaumont, and we'll be working on that. The city's public information department has already been a great ally on that, and we've got all kinds of stuff planned together to help get that out. Kara tells me we have 294 people who've already taken the survey. So we're off to a good start. It'll be up at least another 10 days, probably a little bit longer. We haven't set a final day to close it out because we want to see what the returns are. We want to make sure we leave enough time for people to get good returns. And also, we haven't set our next meeting yet, right? So a little later in this meeting, we're trying to set that next meeting. We'll close it out before that next meeting so that we have time to get the information to you. Yes?
Is there a guard against repeat submissions?
There's not a guard against, there's not a guard against repeat submissions. And we did that for a specific reason, because one of the ways in different communities we found that we get the most responses is by, a husband and wife sitting together on the couch. And so if we block the IP address, it doesn't allow them to pass their phone over and say, hey, honey, I just took this. Why don't you take this too? So we don't have a guard against repeat submissions, but we do have bot detection and speed detection and all kinds of things to catch fraud. So we haven't run into anything like that. Our software hasn't flagged anything, but we'll also go in and manually flag those too. So if we see people going through a survey really fast, if we see people who are kind of checking the same answers and repeating that over and over on the same IP address, we'll flag those, pull them out, and look at them ourselves.
Thank you.
We're also allowing, there's not a very effective way to do it, so we don't stop you from being outside the city of Beaumont, but what we do is try and identify that. So you have an option to say, I live in Beaumont, I work in Beaumont, or I don't live in Beaumont, but I do work there or go to school there, so that we can just give people an honest way to weigh in, and then you can weigh that for what it's worth. Other questions? I'll give you a little example. If you haven't seen it, there's a number of questions. We've kept it pretty short. Yeah, sorry about that. That's hard to read, isn't it? I'll read you a few of those. We've kept it to a relatively small number of questions, because having done this a lot, we see that if you get past 8, 10, 12 questions, you get a lot of fall off. People get bored, won't go forward. So but we have some questions with multiple choice answers on there. So this one, for example, says the most important thing Beaumont can do in the next few years is, A, is concentrate on basic services. B is plan ahead now to be prepared for growth and new challenges. C, invest in basic infrastructure such as roads and sidewalks. D, improve social services and the quality of life for residents. E, build more parks, trails, or other recreation facilities. F, upgrade or expand public buildings such as fire, animal care, police. Prioritize projects that generate long-term revenue for the city, such as economic development, tourism, or business recruitment. Keep taxes low or take a wait-and-see approach. When you get there, you'll see some questions that are kind of asked in different ways. That's on purpose, so we just kind of try and tease out people who may think of something a little differently. We also have some data from other cities that we can share about, this city passed their bond, and this is kind of what the answers were here. One of the questions is, how much would you be willing to pay per month for improvements in the city of Beaumont? And, we make clear, like, if you like those improvements, these are improvements you agree with, what would you be willing to pay? And we give people options ranging from, I won't support a bond package even if there is no tax increase, I just don't like it. Or I won't support one if there is a tax increase, up to then from there on, $5 a month, 10, 15, all the way up to 25, just to see where we are. And, it's varied a lot in communities. We've had some communities where the city council told us, nobody here wants a tax increase. Man, you'll be lucky if you can get $5 a month. And then when people started thinking about the projects, we actually heard back from the community, we're fine with, $20 a month if you get us what we're asking for. So we don't really come into this with preconceptions. We'll begin to see what the community says. Well, before we go there, I know this slide's a little hard to read, but if you go to the website, you'll see the full thing there. I believe we're 8 questions. Is that right, Karen? So we've got 8 questions. We can break that information down for you, and we'll break that in what we call crosstabs. Does anybody know what a crosstab is? So that means we can look at limited information about their demographics, like how old are you or how long have you lived in Beaumont, and then tell you, people who've lived here a long time answered this way, and people who haven't lived here a long time answered this way, just to give you a little bit of additional information.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
We're just legislative just passed around $51 billion in property tax relief. Is that gonna bring down some relief to Beaumont taxpayers, or how does that?
Do you want me to take a shot at that, or do you want
You can go for it.
Well, yes. The question was, if you couldn't hear it, the question was, the legislature is acting on property tax relief, which may be passed down to cities. It's really, that property tax relief is really aimed at school districts, but that does mean that property taxpayers here in Beaumont theoretically are paying fewer taxes. If you talk to school district leaders, a lot of them feel like, well, we're getting property tax relief, but we're also, there's other grant programs that are being cut off, so we have to make up for those funds elsewhere. So I don't know. It's a complex question. I think theoretically, There is some property tax relief out there. I think it's going to vary a lot from city to city and district to district, how much you see, but it's a great question. And I think, the same true, I think at the federal level, there's an effort underway, obviously, to look at efficiency in government and maybe make cuts there that could make people feel good. Some of those cuts, though, are likely to cut city grants or grants for charities locally that then have to find another way to make up those funds. So I would hate to give an opinion on whether that's really going to make people feel better or worse. I think what we do know is that we're in a time of unusual uncertainty with a lot of changes at state and federal and even worldwide level, and coming off of COVID and a pandemic, and that'll be a challenge for all of us to kind of work through that. How are people feeling about the world right now? Yeah. Mr. Williams, did you want to add anything to Mike?
No.
Well, if you got a crystal ball.
You did well.
So, Kara, I wasn't sure quite. Let's see. Data for the next meetings. Really. This is just. We'll have something about what citizens like and don't like. Yeah. And so, next steps. Just a reminder. Then we will be talking about finance next time. We don't have specific homework for you to do. If you want to, you can go on the city's website and look at the community investment plan, but that is going to be changing as they update it. So really, there is no homework for you for next meeting except tell your friends and neighbors about the survey, okay? That's the number one homework assignment. We will try and not have a lot of homework actually in this exercise. As we get later on, you'll have lists of projects. You may want to drive around and look at, a particular park that's up. But that's really kind of up to you. We'll try and give you enough information here, photos. The park director, we'll have presentations from staff, or they'll be at least here to answer questions. So there's not really a lot of required homework. But again, if you kind of want to get ahead, you can glance at the CIP, the Community Investment Plan, be thinking about that.
Jim, will the survey be limited to Beaumont zip codes or anything?
You can limit it, to the URL, but it's not very accurate. And so what we do instead is just give one of the options is, I don't live in Beaumont, but I care about what goes on there. I don't live in Beaumont, but I work there or go to school there, that sort of thing. So there's not a...
We've tried in the past to do that type of geofencing, but we found that the accuracy is not very good and often excludes people who we want to take the survey.
Because it's vague. Tell why.
Well, I actually don't know why, but...
The geofencing, is not really based on city boundaries. So if you're talking to whoever your internet provider is, they can't limit it to city boundaries. You can get a rough approximation, but because it's somewhat inaccurate, it sometimes leaves out city residents. We will give you this universe of kind of estimates on total project costs, this big picture that we talk about, top of the funnel, and what projects you'll be thinking about. We'll be talking with either the financial advisor or I'll be playing one on TV where we'll talk about what the tax implications might be, right? For this amount, here's the big picture, here's what we think can easily be put to revenue bonds, but we're left with whatever the number is, $200 million. That would mean a tax increase of, $20 a month. Now let's begin to think about, where we are, just to give you a sense of where we're starting from. And we'll have these results from the community survey. We'll have those broken out for you. We'll have a presentation on that. We'll have something you can take home with you to ponder over and dream about, and get that to you at the next meeting. So,
Question.
Yes,
What is the current tax?
pardon me?
Current tax?
Tax
rate?
point
Yeah,
six
tax rate.
five.
per $100 of value.
Okay. I just paid.
Yeah, about, as you heard, about 65 cents. So we'll be talking to you about that, and you know, as we talk about whether that goes up and down, we'll give you the big number. Well, this would mean going up to 71 cents, but we'll also break that down on an average price home in Beaumont. What would that mean on their monthly mortgage?
Jeff,
Yes.
is there an opportunity for free input at any point in the survey, or is it only buttons and toggles?
Is that, did we end up, we went back and forth about that on free
There isn't an open-ended question, but there are
a
options.
comment. Go ahead.
There are options that are other, like in the list of options, it doesn't apply to you, enter in your own. And then additionally, we have on the website, there is an open-ended comment form where citizens can give any sort of feedback that they like.
Oh, that's good.
Or ask questions.
Yes, we'll be responding to questions as we go from residents. And then when we go to the open house, it will not be a structured program, just so you know. We like to do an open house where there are stations and people can come by and just, at their own, if they want to come by before the soccer game or after the soccer game or wherever it is. Right now, we're thinking about having that on a Saturday. That way people can come by. They don't have to hit it at an exact time. It'll be open for 2 to 3 hours, come anytime, and we'll kind of walk them through the whole process. And usually we'll have some kind of voting exercise for them to pass judgment. With that, Kara, do you want to walk people through that we need to choose some dates, or just want to talk about it?
So they're going to be on the next slide, there's a meter.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for reminding me. So if you can take out your smartphone, I'm going to have these young people here show you how to do it. If you just take out your phone, and Andres and Joey or Kara, can y'all help folks who might need it? We're going to try and get some scheduling. We'll be using these later. If you don't have one with you, we've also got some extras. And if you hate doing this kind of stuff with smartphones because you're born before 1983 like me, holler at one of these guys and they'll help you. So you get your phone, you go to www.minty.com and you enter this code right here. And I'll read it out to you. It's 43197266. That's 43197266. You know, I think it's board members, although staff, if you want to vote on like,
Anybody can take it. We ask you to put your name at the beginning of the survey, so.
so I know for some of you on staff, if you've got blackout dates and that will help, then we'd glad to give that. We're just trying to get a sense of what dates might work best for the whole group.
And you can select as many as might work for you.
We're not going to show these up here because we're going to go back and crank on them and try and work with staff and make sure facility buildings are open. Let me tell you, we're going to use the same technology sometimes when we vote on project you might want to see. And when we do, as you vote, you'll see a cool little pie chart come up here showing who's for it and who's against it. Was everybody able to get in?
Yep.
Work okay for you? Yep. Yeah, good. By the way, one thing for you members to know, these meetings are open to the public. You know, we're not pushing members of the public to come because You know, a lot of it's just boring listening to me talk, and then we're going to be talking about details. But as you saw, there's media here. It's open to the public. We're welcome anybody who wants to come be a part of it. Yes, ma'am.
All the meetings are at 5.
We haven't quite established that about times. Kara, do you have a strong, or I guess for the city, do y'all have a strong preference? I'd like to hear from y'all.
On what?
About times.
Thought about it
Late afternoon.
Yes.
So,
I don't know.
yeah, good. I'd love to hear that.
Whatever works for
Yeah.
you and the
Do y'all have it?
I think
board.
the lunch is.
Lunch, yeah.
Has everybody answered this? And let's talk about times. Anybody still working on this part? One or two? Yeah. Give us just a second and we'll go to times.
Yeah. Everybody eats lunch.
Oh, Friday.
No way, Friday.
No, not one on Friday. Showed up.
You got it.
No, you get a
No, I know. No, you don't. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Okay, what about times? Then can like to talk to y'all about what's best for most of you. We're happy to do either. The city's told us they can accommodate these with facilities. So lunch right after work or later in the evening. Let's talk about those steps. I hate to you, but we don't anticipate many. There'll be less than an hour and a half. But we will try and keep it no.
Lunch wouldn't work then. It doesn't seem. We have to have lunch.
We don't. I mean, it depends on.
Yeah, I want to eat.
Yeah.
I want to eat. Tenant property.
Lunch would
We
not.
could eat and talk, can't we?
Little fatigue, right? But I think occasionally there's going to be a lot to discuss.
That's good.
So what does 5 o'clock sound? 5 o'clock sound?
It's good.
I like 5.
Let's just give Andy a gift card.
Sure.
I'm gonna bring you a sandwich, Andy.
Yeah, no problem.
Right, man. Yeah, 5 o'clock.
I don't know about how.
Peanut butter and jelly, it'll work for me.
Great, Mr. Chair. Is that?
5 o'clock.
That sounds great. I think the chairman suggested 5. I see all of y'all nodding.
That's good.
Can that work?
Not 3 meetings in a week at 5, though.
Not 3 meetings in a month or in a week.
week.
No, we won't have any meetings twice in 1 week.
Oh, okay.
They'll all be, we might have 2 or 3 in a month, but you won't have any meetings the same week.
That's good.
That's good.
No meetings the same week. So you can kind of attend to work life or personal life or whatever. And, you know, I know the city already said it, but listen, we also really recognize what you're giving up. Thank you.
And if we miss a meeting, who do we contact?
Pardon me?
If we miss a meeting, who do we contact?
Thanks. Great question. If you miss a meeting, first of all, we will be posting the presentation on the website, so you can go there and look. But second, you are welcome just to call us or email us at GAP, and we can set up a quick meeting just to bring you up to speed.
Oh, wow, good.
Okay? So if you miss a meeting, what we'll probably do, if 2 or 3 people miss, if we can, we'd like to gang you, so we just do it once. But we absolutely would love to, like, bring you up to speed. We'll get you on the phone. So I think there's real value in us all being here together, but we know we're in this together for several months. We're being paid. You guys aren't. I hope we all realize that. We're happy. We're really just happy to. We know you can't, you know, something may come up, life intervenes. Just email or call us.
Jeff.
And that can be, honestly, that can be, we can set that up on a day or on a weekend, whatever's easier for you.
Jeff, I'd like to commend Mike and Corey. they had a big engagement, and they found this to be more important. Not as more important, but they wanted to be here. They had a forum meeting. They both running for elections on the city council. So I want to applaud you guys for being here, Corey. Thank you, man. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Being means a lot.
And I know for some of you running for city council, this is outside of my sphere of influence, but you might be appointing somebody, is my understanding, to replace you if you're elected. And same thing, if that happens, we're happy to have, you may want to, if you already have somebody in mind who you might appoint, I hope you'll suggest they might sit in on the meetings. We'd love to have them. But otherwise, we'll set up a special briefing to kind of help get them up to speed. Yes, sir.
I have an easy question.
Yeah. Love those.
For the sake of transparency, can you share with us how much the city is paying you all to?
Sure. We're getting, I believe it's $153,000. That includes all of our expenses.
So it's 10% of the bond, roughly?
No, I don't think it'll be. I mean, well, it's up to you guys, but I think the bond, the bond could be, for example, 15 million with no additional debt, so it'd be 1%. 1% of that. That can also be paid for out. The city can be reimbursed, and that can be paid for out of the bond.
Good question.
52,977.
Okay, there. I was pretty close, wasn't I?
I'd ask for more, but you're good.
Yeah.
Hey, Jeff.
That's what
No,
my wife tells me the same thing exactly, that I should ask for more.
Hey, Jeff, back to scheduling. If we want to be part of the conversation, but we're out of state for work or something of that nature, is it a possibility to call in, or do you really prefer we catch up offline?
Thanks for asking that. I should have brought that up. We've talked a lot about that. It depends on the facility. I think I think, and the city made a decision not to do this as just remote. We did do some of these remotely during COVID, and it works okay. The problem is if some people are remote and some are in person, it's tough because then it's really hard to coordinate the conversation and people see the screen. Having said that, if you can't be here and want to participate, we'll find a way to make that happen. It just may be that we may not be able to set the AV set up so that you can see everything that's going on. But we'll find some ways to work around that, and glad you're interested. Listen, number one thing is, if you're interested, we're going to work as hard as we can to make you be able to participate.
Hey, I've heard a couple people ask about attending virtually or seeing it afterward. We are recording these meetings, and so I can make the presentation available to you to send out to everybody. If you want to review tonight's again another time,
cool.
or if you're out of town, I know it's not as good as seeing it live, but if you want to see it later, we will record this.
That's cool.
We got the presentations pumping in here too, so you will be able to see all.
That's cool. That's good.
Thanks for reminding me. Great point.
Just a note on a couple of dates, staff has reminded me that Tuesday, April 29th, we'll have a city council meeting, that night meeting that date, so it won't be good for staff attendance.
Thank you.
And May 6th is election day, so that might not be good either. May 6th, right?
Tony, you guys, May 6th, you probably hadn't realized that.
May 3rd, I'm sorry, council meetings, there's a council meeting May 6th, but it's a day too.
I'll bet some of you are keenly aware about that date, but for the rest of us, it's good to remember.
Looks like the 12th one, May 12th.
Yes. Are you looking at those, Kara?
Yes.
I mean, how do I keep this? Just save it. But how do I go to this every time?
So May 12th, did everybody hear that? So right now, most of you said May 12th was a good day, then May 13th was next best, and followed by May 5th. So what we will try and do then is we'll coordinate with city staff and the facilities, different facilities, and make sure that we can get those for May 12th or May 13th. With that in mind, any big comments about those dates or anything we should be concerned about those dates? All right. Kara, is there anything else? Or Andres, Joey, anything? I should, one last thing. The website is translatable into basically any foreign language. So we'll have a button on the website where people can get it in other languages. It is also, what's the right phrase, Kara? Because this is her expertise. It's also friendly to people who have hearing and eye impairments. Fully adaptive for people who require assistive technologies. That's the phrase I'm supposed to use. So, but we go to a lot of effort to make sure that people can get easy access to the website.
Just want to mention that I won't be attending these meetings. If I'm needed here, the chairman can ask me to come. Staff will be able to take care of everything you're doing, so you can have open and free communications and discussions. But I'll be glad to be here at any time if you need me.
Mr. Chair, the last bit of business I have is to let you know that by the end of this week, we'll follow up with everybody about the dates that work for this. I believe we agreed 5 o'clock, right? Mm-hmm. So we'll follow up with you about dates and just have a little general follow-up. I really look forward to getting to know each of you. Thank you for your patience with us tonight and for being so attentive, and just look forward to working together. Mr. Chair, any last questions?
Thank you, Jeff. Again, we'd like to thank Jeff. We'd like to thank you, Kara, and your staff for GAP Strategies. This has been very informative to me, and we know where we're going. And I look forward to working with everybody here. I mean, we have some work cut out, but I'm looking forward to it. Any questions, comments? If not, we are adjourned.
One last question. What's your current CIP? Are you still working on that? Chris, can you?
Talking too much.
Yeah, city staff is currently working on the 5-year CIP. It's a document that the city updates annually. We're in the process of finalizing the draft of the document. We expect for that draft to be finalized before the end of this month, which is when we will take that draft to the city manager and present it to the city manager before we take it to city council. We'll take it to city council for a work session on May the 22nd, but it is being worked on, and we should have something completed very soon.
I had seen somewhere where the number that probably reached 900 million or close to it.
Right now in the CIP.
For the CIP.
Oh yeah, CIP.
Well over that, or?
No, feel free to go and look at the city's website, go to the finance page. It's there on the finance page. As of right now, the current CIP for the 5 years is $419 million total. And that number may increase with some new projects that we're proposing.
There's a number that's 814 million, but I think that includes some things that get financed in other ways, and some things that have already been paid for.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that 814 million. That's
I'm leaving here in a minute because I'm a little tired of listening to me. But realistically, what percentage of that CIP are you going to be chasing? Do you need input from us to be determined how much?
I think what we'll do, so again, you know, we were talking about you can get about 15 million with no tax increase, but there's actually hundreds of millions that have been identified in potential need. And so what we'll be talking about next week is really some of that, the 800 million number, for example, some of that can be paid for by utility bonds, revenue bonds that we discussed. Some of it's going to be paid for by grants. Some of it's already been paid for in past budgets. Some of it's budgeted in this year's regular budget. And then we're going to be working with you. Joey's already, well, the city's got some of that, but Joey has been breaking down in great detail, you know, what might be paid for elsewhere, how to put the remainder into buckets that would be digestible for us all, like what really goes into a parks budget, what goes into a facilities budget. And we're going to be double checking that with your staff. So whatever that is, we probably start at least with tens of millions, or really, truthfully, hundreds of millions. That's the big picture. And then we start thinking about, okay, some of those you may want done in 5 or 10 years, and maybe there's another bond. Some of those you may want to just put out there to see what voters think. You know, a water slide, is that something is that maybe you just want to get voters to tell the city, do you want one or not? Other things may be parks that are really integral to your park system. So that's the sort of thing we'll be talking. Does that get at your answer?
Yeah. There's not any other questions. One other question. You want to hold on to these or?
Oh, we'll take those back from you if that's okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.